Right, and we're live. We're live. Get the comments so I can see the insightful questions of our tribe coming through. We might have some people joining us. Right, I'm going to do my... Pardon?
I said fingers crossed we have lots joining. Not just
you never know. You never know. So I'm going to do my countdown and go straight into it. So 3, 2, 1. Welcome back, folks, to the WP-Tonic show this week in WordPress and tech. So in this show, we've got a great WordPress entrepreneur now. He works for Automattic. We've got Mike Scott. Mike is well known in the WordPress community. He started a number of successful plugins, started with Social Gallery, then started the plugin and theme shop Epic, and also was involved in Zero BS CRM, which was sold to Automattic in 2019. So we're going to be talking about all things marketing. Is it worth even thinking about online marketing with the age of AI, and a load of other subjects about building successful businesses in the WordPress space. It should be a fantastic discussion. So Mike, would you like to give us a quick additional 10, 20 seconds intro, and then we'll talk more in detail about your history in the main part of the show?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Mike. I'm based in Manchester, UK, and it's actually sunny for a change here. So I'm normally staring into grey skies, but now I've got a bit of winter sun, spring sun, dazzling me a little bit. Worked in WordPress and around WordPress since about 2010. But prior to that, I was actually a pensions consultant at PricewaterhouseCoopers. So one of those little known facts that people do not know. I qualified as an actuary, and on the side of doing that, I was building side businesses and quit my 9-to-5 in 2016 to go all in on WordPress. So that's a very short synopsis.
That's fantastic. And I've got my ever-patient co-host and individual of reason and light. I've got my co-host, Kirk. Kirk, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Kurt Von Annen. I own an agency called Manana No Mas. I also work directly with Jonathan at WP-Tonic and his team, and the great folks at Lifter LMS all over WordPress.
Poor old Kirk, he's become my unofficial therapist. There we go. Should be a great show. I've been looking forward to this particular chat. But before we go into the meat and potatoes of the show, I've got a message from one of our major sponsors. We will be back in a few moments, folks. 3, 2, 1. We're coming back, folks. Also want to point out we've got a fantastic free resource for you. We've got some great, yummy special offers from the sponsors, plus a curated list of the best WordPress plugins and services for particular areas, all listed in a nice list, all recommended and used by the WP-Tonic team. It's a great resource. You can get all these goodies by going over to wp-tonic.com/deals. wp-tonic.com/deals. What more could you ask for, my beloved WordPress professionals? Probably a lot more, but that's all you're going to get from that page. I'm not doing that on the round table show, beloved tribe, because Spencer keeps interrupting me. So I'm not going to bother. But you seem to still like it, my beloved tribe. So let's go straight into it. So, Mike, now you got into WordPress. What was it about your former career before your WordPress career that you thought that WordPress was going to be so much better? Right?
Oh, good question. So when I worked in pensions, so we spent a lot of time in human resource services, trying to help people manage their employees better, look after the benefits of the high earners and all that sort of stuff. And I did a lot of work with Excel. And a lot of the younger associates that were coming in, even the managers, weren't very good with Excel. And I came from like a computer university background where I was just picked up Excel. I could do all sorts of stuff in like VBA programming at the time. And so I thought, well, why not I do this as a side gig? Like there must be other companies like out there that struggle with Microsoft Excel at the time. And this is, oh gosh, probably 2010 time. So I was just writing pages in HTML and created my logo. I can't remember what I created the logo in. And then tried to do like headers. And then I'm like, oh, I need an about page. So then I'd have to go back into every single like .html to then like add an extra link to all of those. And then at a certain point, I'm like, right, I'm going to need a blog. And then it just got I'm like, how do I do this with HTML and CSS? So did some Googling. WordPress came up as like the only choice really as blogging software at the time. So I learned that. I set it back up on WordPress. So it was a lot easier to start adding content, start adding things like forms, all the type of stuff you want if you're trying to get leads into your failure of an Excel business. My domain was actually excel-lens, so excellence.info. So it was .info domain. I knew nothing about websites at the time, and that's how I got started there. Fell in love with WordPress, started using it a lot, started having a lot of other side business ideas. So when I decided to leave PwC in 2011, I then went back into insurance and life insurance, and we had a 3-month notice period where you put on gardening leave, so you couldn't work on clients, so you didn't take your knowledge to another consultancy. So my senior manager at the time said, why don't you write an ebook on how bad you are at Call of Duty? So I'm like, fine, I'll do that. Wrote the ebook, and it was 101 tips to get worse at Call of Duty, put it on Amazon, and that was sort of like my first online dollar, so to speak. So that went on to probably sell about $3,000 in its lifetime over back in 2011. I had the crazy thought that, I can do this better than Amazon. So I used a WordPress website to become a social ebook store, installed BuddyPress, started to build a community of members there. And then one of the authors of that site said, look, I'm doing a new book. I've got 5 different book covers. I want to have a gallery on my author page, and people click it and it open up like Facebook. And it didn't exist, and I didn't know how to do it. So I put a job post up on a freelance board, and a freelancer called Woody applied for the job, and he said it's probably going to cost about $1,000, £1,000 to build it. I'm like, I've not got that. No one's buying ebooks from my failed bookstore. So we did an agreement where he built it for free, and we sort of split the proceeds, put it on Cold Canyon, and that was our first bigger success, because that took off quite well as a Cold Canyon product. It got us elite authors probably in 2013, and at this point then I was like, I like this as a
and
business.
that's when you got the taste for building pro plugins and other products on WordPress. That's where it started, really, Mike.
It did. So it started with, I'd not done a lot in PHP type coding at the time, but I'd done a lot in VBA and MATLAB, went throughout my sort of degree. And then I saw I can make money with premium plugins. So then alongside, I kept in touch with Woody at the time, and we built a lot of, we had little challenges where I tried to release a plugin, he released a plugin, and we tried to see which one would be best.
I think we'll leave it there, because we're starting to overlap into the next question, and I want to give that to Kirk. So Kirk, over to you.
No worries.
Well, Mike, I was listening to your answer, and I was just trying to put myself back in that headspace, because I started working with WordPress in 2004. And as you were talking, I was like, the guy wants a gallery that opens up into Facebook and does that. And I'm like, and you're like, it didn't exist. And I'm like, oh my God, he's right. It didn't. And I think about where we're at now, right? So now we've got 60,000 plus things in the repository to choose from, right? WordPress does all this crazy cool stuff. So looking at where we were and where we are, what do you think are the major lessons that you've learned in launching a commercial plugin in a way that you could share it with our audience that might be thinking the same thing? Because things have changed a lot since inventing something that's needed.
Absolutely. So I think it'll always be for me, like with Social Galloway, even with ZBS CRM, like it was to launch it early. So we launched sooner than we thought. So the first like Social Gallery version just had like a Facebook like and a Facebook comment, and then we built on the back of that after like listening to customers. So we got the first version out. It may be if we'd have waited until we like had I don't know if Instagram existed when we first did that, but if we had like the Pinterest buttons and all the other social share icons, we wouldn't have launched. And so we just got a version 1 out and then started listening to what people were asking us for going forwards. And that was true to ZBS CRM as well. Was the first version was very much like a lot fewer features, and we just started to listen to customers, talking to customers, and just trying to get the word out. So with Social Gallery, the thing that made that the sales pick up on that one was a partnership with, I don't know if you remember Next Gen Gallery all those years back. So we got like a blog post on there and integrated with Next Gen, so that if you clicked on a Next Gen Gallery image, it would pop up in the Social Gallery. So that type of partnerships and not treating everyone as a competitor, and because everyone's in it together to sort of make the web a better place. That was the way we went there, was just doing that type of stuff. But I agree, it is getting harder, like with more plugins, with AI, like making it, you can just talk to an editor and have it create a plugin. Like that's a real challenge for like new people starting out.
Yeah. It's we actually just had that experience last week, and that was unique because they're like, oh, I talked to AI and I had this plugin made. Can you add it to my site? And I'm super hesitant. Like, and I'm sure a lot of other people are going to face this coming, right? Like where people are going to say, oh, I made this. Because if you're in charge of the site and the maintenance and the hosting, and now you're just going to add something that AI made, that's a little freakish. So then you say, well, maybe we need to check it out first, or maybe we need to look at your code. But then if you're going to do that, you might as well charge them to make a plugin, right?
Mm-hmm.
So do you have any thoughts on that? It wasn't the original question, but we kind of opened that can of worms right there.
We did, and I think that'll happen. It's sort of like how if you're getting AI to sort of be your AI engineer in a new product, then still have somebody that understands the code, like to check it's still secure, check it's not doing anything, like allowing any like privileges escalations and things like that. I always pick the hard words to try and get out of my mouth. So I think that like as long as you have someone that understands the code, depending on the size of the plugin, then that could be part of a new service, is like have an AI engineering team and then offer the service to like get this production ready. But I think as AI gets better, it's looking at everyone's code anyway that's open source, and there'll be fewer instances of these type of potential issues. So it'll just move faster with bigger context windows and lots of ways to just make it easier to build a plugin. And then that circles back to like what makes a plugin successful. Is it the idea? Is it the distribution? Is it the marketing? Is it the person, like the team behind it?
Yeah. I really liked when you said not considering people competitors. I have a favorite saying that I stole from somebody else, and it was, you don't have to worry about someone getting your piece of the pie because you can always just bake more pie, you know?
Yeah.
Jonathan, over to you.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Yeah, don't know where it's going to go really. Well, I'm part of a professional level Facebook training community, and I was in one of their premier Zooms yesterday, run by John Loomer, and people were there discussing what Mark Zuckerberg has been saying lately, that Facebook or Meta are going to, clearly saying that they really want to cut out most of the agencies, the lower end agencies, and provide an AI service that really can basically a small business client can say what result they want and what adverts they want to run, and the AI just manages the whole thing, and that's his vision. So it'd just be interesting to see what happens. So one of the questions, because you, by looking at your previous interviews and your background, you seem to be one of these individuals that have broad abilities, i.e. you're in the world of marketing, online marketing. You also have some technical abilities as well. So you've got like a broad span of insights. And I listen to quite a lot of a major influencer online. I don't agree with everything this person says, Scott Galloway, but on a few of his interviews and some of his own podcasts, he's been saying that he really sees the world of traditional branding dying. And I just thought your own thoughts, but because I think I can see where he's coming from, and in some ways I think it's already happened. But on the other hand, I think more around community and being foreign online influencers, which is a form of branding, is it not? Seems to have still growing, and there still seems to be a need for more of it from the consumers. What's your own thoughts about all this, Mike?
Yeah, this was the question that gave me the most, kept me awake most at night, was like, is brand building still important? And I think if you look at some of the older brands in WordPress, like Jetpack's one of the first major brands that came out, and people either love it or hate it. And the people that hated it back in the early days hated it for a particular reason that may not be true anymore. And you'll have heard of these before, like it's bloated, it slows down websites. But then if you look at what's the shift where we did individual plugins, that's moving away now, that it's actually speeds up your website with Jetpack Boost. There's lots of things there. So that brand building, I think, is still important. And it becomes like brand building, brand perception, and even for a company brand. But then also alongside that is now I think it's more important to have like personal brands as well. So like for yourself, if you're growing WP-Tonic, then to look at the person behind that and like what has Jonathan done, like what's he been involved in, has he been to communities, has he done speaking like engagements and things like that. So I think personal brand is as important as business brands, but I do think brand building is like, and brand marketing is still important as well from all sorts of brands, whether it be WordPress. And Matt tweeted a few days ago like asking for agencies that could help elevate the WordPress brand. And like the biggest example I could give very recently in my mind of like the brand side is the BYD car. So I'd never heard of BYD, and it was only when we were looking for a new car and we saw like it as part of Mercedes, we're like, oh, what's this? But then we started looking into it, and they've done all the brand marketing, they've got all the influencers talking about it, doing reviews, and like doing like the Hi BYD assistant showing the screen, and it's got all the tech. And then you look at the even deeper down like the rabbit hole, it's like it's now overtaken Tesla in revenue, and it's sold more EV vehicles. And I don't think that would have happened if they hadn't have done that brand building over like in particular where they originated from. So I don't think it's dead. I think it's just shifting that brand building will be easier with AI again. Like you can talk to various AI agents to help you like know what to do next. If you're stuck with how you get your brand to the next level, if you've got your brand perception in a particular place that you want to change, then how do you go ahead of doing that? So hopefully that answers the question.
Well, it was a very broad question, and you really had a. I'm sorry to hear that I made you not sleep, actually, Mike. My own view about it is, I think in the Pacific, obviously Scott, when he was a leading consultant to very large brands and companies, the example he gave, the broad example, was taking a mediocre product and then using mass marketing and mass branding to get a premier margin on a semi-mediocre product. And I think he's right about it. The gist of it was that taking quite mediocre products and marketing them sophisticated and getting a much better margin than if you didn't do that. And the marketing was at such a lower rate that you still got an enormous payback. But I think that is probably dying, and was dying because you could just go on TikTok, you could just go on YouTube, you can just go on 1,000 different platforms and read reviews and what people are saying. Obviously, a lot of those reviews are being manipulated by sponsorship and by other factors, but it's much harder. So there really has to be a lot more behind the brand than just marketing. There has to be some real value in the brand, but the idea that I've known loads of WordPress products that were really good, but the people never did any marketing and had no marketing strategy, and they never went anywhere. So what do you think about what I've just laid out? Do you think I'm on the right track, or would you disagree?
I don't disagree. One of my favorite sayings is you can put lipstick on a pig and it's still a pig at the end of the day. Like, no matter what you do to it, if it doesn't have product market fit, then it's going to be harder to get those customers and things like that. So on the flip side, there's the good products that don't get the traction. I think it depends on the people behind it, and if they are comfortable marketing, comfortable talking to customers, because I think it all goes back to what does the customer want at the end of the day. So are you building your products based on like a demand and then going from that, or are you trying to drum up that demand for a product that might seem like a good product, but like there's not that customer demand and customers aren't asking for it? So back to the social Galloway example, it was people were asking for it. We didn't just think, oh, we're just going to copy Facebook. There were people saying, I want this functionality on my WordPress website. And it was the same with CRM. It was, again, a number of people that were using it saying, I want to see everything in one place in my website. I'm spending all my days like going out quoting for building services, and I don't have time to essentially learn this complicated software. So we made a very easy version in WordPress, and it's that listening to customers and talking to customers, and then that word of mouth marketing that I think some engineers potentially don't like the marketing side of things. They just like to move on to the next feature and build the next thing and put the next plugin out.
Yeah. What do you reckon, Kurt?
Marketing is an elusive ghost for me. I get lost in it myself. I can think of two examples where I might not necessarily like the technique, but it's obviously paid off for them. And I'll pull some big names out. Like I bought a Grant Cardone book a couple of years ago, probably 4 or 5 years ago. No matter what I'll do, I'll never get off that man's email list. Him and his team of salespeople, it's emails every week and all that stuff, and it's super annoying. And I think that's from a developer's perspective, or someone that's marketing a new product. I think they have that fear of, I don't want to be that person that everybody hates, right? For trying to be pushy for something they don't want. Mm-hmm. But you nailed it when you said, product market fit. Like when the product fits the market and it's a no-brainer, like, yeah, that's awesome. But it's still, I think Jonathan and I personally have spoken to many people that had good product market fit, but still didn't have growth. Almost like they put too much into making the cool product and not enough into the marketing. And I think nowadays it is really confusing for most people right now to go, okay, I built this really cool thing, or I am building this really cool thing. How do I get everyone to know about it? Even if I have product market fit, I'm not able to get the eyes that I need to get. Your example was the car. Here in the United States last week, a truck was announced called Slate. And it's a $20,000 EV, like a mini truck. And it's super, super cool. Like for 20 grand, it's amazing. But I knew nothing about it until last week. And then it was everywhere on X. And a bunch of people started talking about it. And then I didn't hear anything this week. But they made a giant investment, a giant splash in influencers and gross posting. And maybe that's just what it takes. Maybe you just have to really commit to it and really spend the money to get those eyeballs on it, and then see if it works.
The reason I'm bringing this up, Mike, because obviously were you the founder or the joint founder of Zero BS CRM?
Mm-hmm. Yep, we were.
Do you think? Sorry.
Oh, go ahead. Oh, so it was me and Woody, the same person that did Social Galloway with. So it just spans backwards. But
now, I don't know too much about this. Obviously, you sold it to Automattic in 2019. The things that we've been discussing in this first half, what do you think? Anything that we discuss on reflection applies to Zero BS? And if so, what were some of the lessons you could share with the audience around your journey with this particular product?
Sure. Yeah. So again, ZBS, when we launched it, there was periods where it made hardly any sales, like very early on, and there's points where like this isn't going to work, nobody wants it, and then we saw the thing that sort of moved people to buy in was we had like 5 extensions at the time, and we were sort of looking at the WooCommerce model and the easy digital downloads type of extension model, and we said, well, let's do some bundles. And when we put the bundles in place, that then started to slowly like tick up. But we did also around that time like a period of just sponsoring WordCamps, and we went out to all sorts of I spoke in WordCamp Nepal about like subject to successful products when we were still relatively low, and just sort of like trying to sponsor WordCamps, trying to just speak, I went to a number of local WordCamps and spoke to agencies and gave out business cards, all the type of stuff that is like it was out of my comfort zone at the time, was just going and trying to network with people to say, look, it's a new product, maybe give it a go, it's completely free. Because the search like volume in WordPress on WordPress.org for CRM was relatively low, and even now like there's more CRMs now than there were. And if you compare it to like the install counts of like Contact Form 7, none of the CRM products are like that massively adopted in WordPress native. But it has grown from like maybe like the less than 10 installs that you get on a new plugin that's like the TikTok 200 or the Instagram 200 jail, where you can never get past that number of views. But it did slowly start to like pick up, and we got to about 1,000 active installs at the time of the acquisition, and then since then we're up at about 30,000 now. So we've gone up like a big jump since joining Automattic. So I think we could have, if we didn't join Automattic, like would it have been different? Would we have stayed low? It's really hard to tell. But I think the early things again was just going out and networking and like guest posts again, like we did with the Social Gallery and Next Gen. We spent probably about $500 at the time, which was a lot for us, of just guest posts to try and get on like WP Mayor at the time and WP Cube, all of these, like I don't know if you remember all of these websites back then, but we spent a big chunk of our money at the time to try and just get some search engine juice coming in, and I think that probably helped as well. So, but this is 10 years ago now, that when we first, almost 10 years ago. So things have changed in the world of, let's say, the AI and the AI snippets, which is what we're covering as well.
So how long was you running this particular product before you sold it to Automattic?
So we started working on it in 2016, and then we officially launched in around June 2017. And then when we started to see sales pick up, we incorporated as a separate company in October 2017. And then we got acquired in the acquisition discussions probably started around February 2019. It was quite a quick acquisition process when we got to there. So all in, probably about 3 years of that, from idea to being acquired.
Right, that's fantastic. We're going to go for our midway break. We've got a couple of messages from our major sponsors, and we'll be back in a few moments. 3, 2, 1. We're coming back. We've had a feast of knowledge from Mike. He seems quite relaxed. It hasn't been too painful, I don't think. But it's been a great discussion so far. I just want to point out that if you're looking for a great hosting provider, much more a real partner in really building out membership, community websites, or any big project, why don't you have a look at what WP-Tonic's got to offer? We're much more than a hosting provider. We're a true partner. You can find more by going over to wp-tonic.com/partners, wp-tonic.com/partners. And if you've got any additional question, you can always have a chat with me. What more could you ask for? Over to you, Kirk.
$1.
Anything. He'll pay me not to have a chat with me. He's got to the stage. He thinks, should I pick the phone up?
This next question, it's almost like we're just extending the conversation from the first half of the show, but I think it's a little more specific, and that is someone's new. Right. So we talked about, how did you market this? How did you market that? But someone's new. So have you got any insights on brand new WordPress or SaaS product? Like, how does someone get that traction? We talked about product market fit, and then we mentioned a couple of like outlying cases where people just, really doubled down on social stuff. But bare tactics, right? You've made your WordPress plugin or your SaaS product. How do you just get that first bit of momentum and get going?
It's hard. It's like if you want to do that, like be ready for like maybe a year of nothing. I don't know. Maybe that's a little bit pessimistic, but like don't be expecting to get like thousands of users like as soon as you put your first post out. It took me quite a while but when I did it with the plugins, we were quite fortunate, and Code Canyon at the time was a decent marketplace.
Yeah.
But since like Envato Elements and all things like that started coming out, and I've got a post on my Epic Plugins blog about like the fall of Code Canyon. I didn't title it that, but it was an open letter to Envato that actually ranked higher on Google than when you search Code Canyon than Code Canyon did. So that was quite an interesting piece where it's like it's not the same as it was. And even product hunt launches, I've got another post on Epic Plugins where I sort of looked at how I got ZBS featured. And there's a lot of work there to sort of, I was tweeting Nia Al, who at the time, who's the author of Hooked and Indistractable. And I'm just like, I've just read your book. This is great. I've just launched this product. So we did a lot of things around like the teachings from your book in this product. So I'd love it if you could give it a retweet. And he did. So that I'm like, wow, I wasn't expecting that. And he popped over and he upvoted it on Product Hunt at the time as well. So I think starting out like that, you have to try things like that, like things that don't scale. Do a lot of manual like one-to-ones. If you get people using the product, say, look, I'll spend an hour with you just to make sure you can understand it and I can understand the sort of pain points that you're hitting.
Yeah.
And just so I was quite fortunate that I had a bit of I had the money coming in from Code Canyon, but then I was also freelancing as well and building WordPress websites and talking to people at the same time, and then pushing my like solutions as well at the same time. Because it's like this person needed a gallery. I'm like, well, why don't you use this social gallery? I can get you, like, I'll give it you for 50% off or things like that. So that was quite a nice way of doing it. And even in the early days of CRM, it was a similar tactic where we'd sort of listen to customers and they'd have a particular idea. And we're like, well, we can work with you on a freelance basis on that. And then that money then helped us put it into like the wider marketing budget that we had to try and grow the actual products. So we used to do a thing where we'd say like, it's a great feature, but it's very specific to your use case, but more people might be interested. So why don't we knock 50% off the development costs, and then we'll launch it into the bundle, and then you don't have to pay for any maintenance or anything going forward. So that it was sort of like a nice way that they got what they wanted, but it also enhanced the product at the same time. So I think if you're just trying to do a product without anything else sort of backing you up, it's going to be a lonely road. But if you can sort of try and, like, if you're building websites, if you're doing other things that you could also like talk to people about your product as well, that would be a way to get it going. So that would be my advice there.
I wanted to jump in with a follow-up question on that. How many people do you think that develop a product get nervous or second guess the price and start hacking away at the price as the possible solution, rather than realizing they failed at the hard work of promotion?
Probably a lot. I think we probably underpriced CRM at the time, like when we first launched it, and it's still like a really good deal now. If you look at CRMs, it's $200 a year for access to everything, and like, I think even now that's probably we could increase those prices. We've not increased them for years because it's. I think you got it dead on. Like, I think you mess around with the price thinking that's the problem, and it's more like the distribution, it's the talking to people, it's the adding the extra thing, potentially adding the features, or is it just getting that tweet from like an influencer to help lift your brand? And then you can always change prices later if you.
Another price related question would be, what are your thoughts on the freemium example? Like, hey, here's a core piece for free, and then it does these extra 6 things for $200 a year.
That's pretty much the only pricing model I tend to use for most of the products we've done. So ZBS was slightly different. It was a core, so we sort of framed it like WordPress itself. Like, there's the core CRM with all the plugins that you could add on. But then most of my other stuff, like, we always had a light version and a paid version, and so that's a nice distribution that people can use the free version and then they can upgrade for some extra stuff. So with Social Galloway, the upgrade was you got a few more like sharing buttons, and you also got like a standard page on your website for each image, which we called like a Social Gallery page, which then helped sharing on like social networks. Because if you shared just an image URL, it didn't like do all the rich text that you would get, like the title, the description, the image, and so those were like the very basic things you could add on to Social Gallery. So I think that works well because you can get the free version out there, and most people will try free, and then they can start to unlock it. And I think it can work quite well, depending, as long as it's not just like your free version's just a demo and you can't do anything.
Yeah. Thanks. I appreciate it. Jonathan?
Yeah, I'd like to go back to your thoughts about Zero BS, because obviously in the end it had a pretty good outcome for you. It's enabled you to build your relationship and career with Automattic. So in the end, it's had a good outcome. But do you think I'm right about this statement? I see CRMs a bit like the term managed hosting. It's become a diluted term to the level where nobody really knows precisely what it means. And what I mean by this, like, is a CRM. A CRM can be like Salesforce, very about the management of sales teams, smallish or medium or large, and with a manager, very sales orientated with around details about customers. And then you can have a CRM that's very marketing orientated around landing pages and triggering marketing automation. And then you can have a CRM that's even bigger on that. And there's been companies that have built, like Salesforce, other ones that built multi-million-dollar companies on CRM, the term CRM, and then you got products like Zolo, CRM. It's all over the place. As you have been so frank, you did build it and it was moving forward, and obviously Automattic could see some real benefits by buying it. But do you think what I've outlined about, I've never used it, so maybe you can, where would you pitch what you were trying to do with it and what it did in what I've outlined? And I like your thoughts about what I've outlined. Do you think I'm right that it's one of the problems in trying to get traction in a CRM? Is it organizational, or is it really a term around getting leads, getting actual customers? Because it's a very broad church, isn't it?
Yeah. Welcome to the last 10 years of my life, Jonathan.
Yeah, so I'll get by your response. So I was quite right about this thing.
Yeah, so I've known my wife for 10 years, and even now she's like, what the hell do you do? I'm like, CRM. And she's like, what is that? So I think that's the challenge, is it's such a wide term. And even when people, like, we probably get, I don't know, this is probably being, again, lowballing the numbers, but at least a couple of feature requests a week for CRM. And a lot of them aren't CRM, and it's so wide ranging that they want it to do like employee leave management. They want it to do performance reviews. That's not a CRM. So a lot of it is like people are trying to grow the business. When you think of like the outcome of a product is what it was trying to do with this solution. And we went with CRM because like we wanted a way for leads to become customers. So that's like the main thing. It's like you have your website, you've got a form, you want a lead, and you want to then convert that to a customer if you do that. So I think that was the thing.
It's only the first time I've interrupted you during this interview.
No,
because I'm trying to cut down interrupting. So really, you were more into, and I like your response, you were more in the area of what Fluent CRM does. Is that correct?
Not quite, no. So Fluent's very much marketing or automation side of things, whereas we were essentially aimed more at like the small businesses and the people trying to like get out of the spreadsheets, get out of like the thousands of notes on your desk and just say like, get yourself organized, get the data you want from your forms into your CRM.
So more like Zolo, maybe.
Zolo? Do you mean Zoho?
Pardon?
Yes.
Zolo. Zoho.
Yeah, Zoho. Sorry, it's my pronunciation. Zoho CRM.
So probably similar. So we've always been quotes, invoices, contacts. So sort of trying to get like the plumbers, the roofers, the every person CRM to help people not rely on spreadsheets and start using everything in one place. So you don't need to sign into all these different tools, that it's all in a central location. So there's different businesses. So again, like all these CRMs, they are targeting like different use cases. So we've just seen a comment come in.
Right.
I'm sorry, that was me. I didn't mean to distract you guys.
Oh no, it's
sometimes I put notes in for the audience.
I think I was boring Mark anyway. So that's I'm only kidding. Over to you, Kurt, for the next question.
Well, I'm like a Sweet Dash user because I signed up for a lifetime. I'm a sucker for a lifetime deal, and so I use that for years. But then when I was studying your product, I mean, it does invoicing and interacts with WooCommerce and stuff like that. So I see it more like almost like, manages customers, but project management, invoicing, proposals. It's more like a Sweet Dash solution for WordPress, which to me is super interesting.
It is. But you can see the problem with this. Like I say, I think Mike agrees with me, and I love you for doing that, Mike, because most of the guests don't. And I don't blame them. But it is a very difficult, because like managed hosting, it's such a diluted term. So you've got to spend so much energy trying to explain and positioning precisely which area of this very diluted, broad picture that you're going to plant your flag in, and that can be frustrating. Sorry, I interrupted, Kirk, but I've been a good boy.
It's all good.
I've been a good boy, haven't I?
You have. Let's just jump on, right? So we've mentioned AI a ton, right? So give up the goods, Mike. What are the tools or services that you use on a regular basis? It's got to be more than just ChatGPT, right?
It is, yep. So I use quite a lot of AI and coding editors now. So I still tinker around with like learning different AI tools, and things like N8N is quite a nice one to sort of get your workflows running. I've been using ClientBot, which is quite good for. It's another like VS Code extension that you can choose which model that you use out of like lots of different ones. So it's not just like the cursor basic and things like that. So I use that quite a lot for things like thinking around programmatic SEO and things like that. It's been quite useful to talk to. I'll talk to ChatGPT on one side and say, this is what I'm thinking, and then I'll give the output from ChatGPT into the editor and say, okay, I'm trying to like grow my personal brand. So what things could I look at? So you're both in the US. If you were to open up Google and search best newsletters, then I'm actually somehow started to rank number 1 for best newsletters on my personal website because of this experiment with like programmatic SEO. So I don't know how I've done that, but that was very much AI driven around like, how do I use this to help me with content and personal brand building and that type of thing. So I use ChatGPT for that. I've used Jetpack AI since that came out, just to help me like structure like outlines to articles as well, and then start creating them. I did use the image generation of Jetpack AI very early on when it was like DALL-E, and that was quite painful to try and get it to do any images with the right things, but that's starting to move on. I do use ChatGPT to literally as my little imposter syndrome therapist sometimes when I'm feeling like I've got
Kirk. I've got Kirk for that. Sorry, he laughs at Kirk. Still laughs at my. I can be quite amusing, Kirk. I might be bonkers, but I am amusing. No.
It is.
Not all the time, though, am I? No.
And then the other thing we've just been trying recently with, because my wife runs a travel business, and she's had me build when I was on sabbatical in June from Automattic. I said, I'll help you get your WordPress website out. And then, so we did it. And she's like, I don't like it anymore. So I'm like, right, I don't have time to build you a whole new thing. So
the boss has spoken.
Has spoken, yeah. So she's got this idea.
Radical, like a web project.
Yeah, so I'm the CTO of her travel business. I'm like, I didn't sign up for this. I said, give like the WordPress.com AI builder a try, because you can chat with it, you can do all the images and things, and you can learn a little bit as you do it, because she is a complete beginner. So she's been really enjoying that side of things. But I'd say they're the main things with AI that I use for now, anyway. I am wanting to experiment with HeyGen, if you've ever heard of HeyGen for doing like videos and like tutorials and things. So I tried it a while back, and it was eerie in that like the person wasn't breathing. So when it did like a decent video, you just like, I can't watch myself, because it was just like the body was still, but the head was moving. So I think that's moved on a bit now as models are getting better.
It sounds like me, Mike.
Well, we're actually talking to an AI the whole time.
I think a lot of the audience would want that, actually, but there we go. All right, let's move on, because
you're it, Jonathan.
So if you had your own time machine or TARDIS, Doctor Who, I'm showing my age, and you could go back to the beginning of your career and just have a quick 5-minute chat with yourself, and there was like one little tip, insight you would like to share, is there anything that comes to your mind, Mike, apart from not coming on this podcast?
No, this has been good. Because my career has been like split into 2. I'm going to probably say 2 little tips. So my first one would be like, don't commute to work if you can help it. Because that has been like, that's since I left. I've been working remotely since 2016. We spent 2017 and 18 traveling the world on a honeymoon, just working from everywhere. And like, thinking back to it, like when I was working in an office, I would probably spend sometimes 3 hours a day sat in a car, and I'm thinking over the period that's a lot of time, and it's a lot of money in like petrol as well. There were no, so that would be my first thing. Is
That's gas for
remote.
our American audience. I get
And-
when I
and-
go back to the UK to see my family, they think I speak American now. I got told off by my older sister when I started using terms like gas and other terms. She said, "What the hell are you saying?" But I think I'm still very English, actually. So it's commuting. It's keeping away from the commuting. That's the main thing.
Yeah, so that'd be one tip. And then so back to like how American have you become? Do you say aluminium still, or do you say aluminum?
Oh,
That's always my
aluminium. I can't even pronounce aluminium. I do have a speech. Well, I was going to say defect. It's not. I have. I have a slight problem around that on certain words, but I could be very fluent in other words, as Kurt will say. I think it's time to wrap up the podcast. Are you up for another 10 minutes, or do you have to clear off?
No, I'm good. For
right, because Kurt's got a hard deadline. He's got to go off and runs another online forum, or whatever. So we're going to end the podcast. So, Mike, what's the best way for people to find out more about you and what you're up to?
Sure. So I say probably the easiest way, you can just find me on Twitter. So it's at mikes.wp, and then my website is just mikes.me. So it's nice and easy to find. Or you can Google best newsletters and get there that way.
Will be. And Kurt, what's the best way for people to find out more about you, what you're up to, and your latest thoughts?
I keep seeing people say find me on X, and I agree, I'm there. But my main thing is LinkedIn. I'm the only Kurt Von Onen on LinkedIn, so you got me.
You got him there. It's been a great show. We're going to have some bonus content, which you'll be able to watch the whole podcast and the bonus content on the WP-Tonic YouTube channel. It's rapidly growing. I'm going to, hopefully in the next month or 2 months, get up to 10,000 subscribers. Love you to join there and watch the bonus content as well. And think by subscribing to the YouTube channel, you are supporting WP-Tonic and this podcast. And we would appreciate that. We will be back next week with another great interview. We've got some fabulous guests. I'm fully booked up till July. And we've got some fantastic people like Mike coming on the show. We will be back next week. We'll see you soon. Bye. So the bonus content. I want to get back to your experiences Zero BS, because do you think that was one of, because obviously I can tell that you are an entrepreneur, you understand what you got to do. Was it one of the things that was slowing its growth? It was coming, and obviously Automattic could see real value with it. But was it that whole thing about being able to explain what it is quickly? Because if you're dealing with a complicated thing like a CRM, and you've only got like 20 seconds to really hook somebody without misleading them, and trying to explain in language that really means something to the target audience and hooks them so they stay on the page and read more. This is difficult stuff. This is not easy. Was one of the, I presume what you actually built technically did what it said it was going to do, but was it the whole area of really finding the right niche, the right language, and explaining it in a way that really related to the target audience? Is this some of the struggles you were always dealing with?
No. So that's a good question. So it was just the people side of things. So we were at the point where we were growing fast. We were trying to hire a support person. We were struggling to find an engineer. And then we just got an email through from Automattic to say, let's explore collaborations and partnerships. And we just went from there. And then it just turned out that an acquisition would be a good fit. So that helped the products, and like we weren't thinking of exiting. We weren't going to like various people. We didn't put any sort of like tenders out for other companies to bid for us, because we always said like if we were to ever exit, like it would have either been to someone like Automattic or someone like Basecamp at the time, because they like very much remote work. So it was very much like it just seemed a good fit. Like everyone we spoke to at the time was super nice, and they still are. Automatic's a great company, and it also like sort of fitted in like at the time of my life where like we just got married, we were expecting a baby, we needed that stability as well. So it's, and like being approached to be acquired by Automattic didn't happen very often either. So it was one of the things.
Well, it's a great achievement. It's a great achievement.
Yeah.
So I've got that bit wrong. So you did find that you had found the right target audience, and was it around what it basically does? It's more about being your central hub to allow you to organize your small business,
So we always targeted entrepreneurs, so like people like ourselves. So back to like use the product yourself every day was our main thing. Like we didn't want to have a product that we never used, so we were using it every day, we were improving it for ourselves every day, and our target was always entrepreneurs trying to get their business off the ground, trying to get started. So it's a very fitting like conversation to this. But I think like the wider, like there's a ton of entrepreneurs out there that probably don't realize they could benefit from using Jetpack CRM. So at the time it was ZBS CRM, because we didn't want any of the BS that were in the bigger ones. So we just aimed it at that. It seemed to resonate. The name seemed to resonate with entrepreneurs, but maybe not so much with bigger companies that were like, I can't sell this to my boss because it's got a swear word in it. So like a lot of the back and forth there. And I think that's still a challenge even to this day is how do you get a website to realize that they should probably use a CRM? And like even when I said my wife's got a travel business, she's writing quotes, she's sending invoices, she's trying to get leads. That's what she's trying to do. But then she's like, isn't sure she needs a CRM. So then unless I'm sitting down and like concierging her through the process and saying like, connect your form here, and then it'll text you when somebody fills the form in, and then you can go and reach out to that person. That's the sort of benefit of doing it, that you're seeing everything in one place. So that's been the main thing, is just it's still the awareness of like you can do it and it can sit in your WordPress website. You don't need to be logging in over there. You don't need to be using spreadsheets. And there's a number of like real users I've spoken to over the past few months as well that are still doing the same things. They're still like managing the contact data in spreadsheets. They're like having Google folders with like driver's licenses in to verify that ID, and they're bringing all that into one place next to your like promotional website is the benefit of using a CRM like tool. But like you say, it's such a broad term that it is hard to.
Well, it's very difficult because, funny enough, a couple of months I do a couple of other podcasts. I'm that bonkers, Mike. I actually have a product which is a CRM, but it's in the real estate industry sector. And we would do in the podcast, we were doing a review of 3 CRMs, not solely aimed at the real estate market, but the broader market that might be adapted for a real estate agent. And it was quite surprising that there is a lot of competition in the sector, but a lot of it is really very rubbish. Even their websites. The one that I think it's ClickBank. They do a good free version, but the problem is they've thrown everything in it. So if you're just average small business person and you logged into it, there's so much in it. And you find that with a lot of CRM systems, they are truly feature rich. And I'm going to pronounce it. I was confusing you with my pronunciation, Zoho CRM.
Yeah.
That's similar, but Zoho, the company's got so many products. Some of them are quite good. Others are very mediocre. Others are pretty good. And I think they're CRM, but they've got all these add-ons, and the free product has some very arbitrary restrictions on it that don't totally cripple it, but really don't make it as useful as possible. So it's a very competitive market, but in some ways it isn't as competitive as people think, because I still see a load of opportunity there. What's your own thoughts, Mike?
Yeah, I agree. So again, back to like my wife's example. So there's 150,000 independent travel agents that across like the US and the UK as part of the company that she affiliates with. So it's more popular in the US, but those 150,000 travel agents all need a easy to use CRM. They need a website where people can book it. And so if you look at this, like, if you add up the installs of all the WordPress CRMs, you're not even going to hit that single vertical use case. And then when you look at all the plumbers in the world and all the builders and all the people that like never get back to you with a quote, like all those people can benefit from moving things online and being reminded. And even as AI starts to build into that type of software to say like, okay, you've not followed up with this person, let me do it for you. So I think there is still a lot of opportunity, but it seems to be slower. I was expecting it to be faster. In like when we created like the WordPress CRM, there was very few CRMs, and even now it still feels like there's a lot of upside potential when we start getting all of these small businesses off some of these tools like ClickFunnels and things like that and onto WordPress and onto a CRM for the business, because that's what like the 150,000 of these travel agents, they all get a website as part of their subscription, but it's not WordPress and it's really hard to do anything with. And it doesn't have all the extra stuff that she's now finding like she would like as she starts to grow. So like Instagram feeds and all of that. So I think there is an opportunity to grow WordPress to get people, all these entrepreneurs and small businesses, onto WordPress, onto CRM, and sort of take it that way.
Just to finish off, at the beginning of a conversation, it's been a really interesting conversation. I think we've covered some areas that you don't normally see so regularly around WordPress. Around AI, I always see business is that normally most people in business, either they lose a lot of money or they can make a reasonable living. And then there's a few people that make a lot of money. And the people that make a lot of money, they need a strong work focus, not always, but they do. And for various reasons, they just stick at it. Obviously, but they need to, and I think in business, there's always what I call pinch points. There's always a kind of narrowing of the flow. And if you have control or you're in a sector that is having a pinch point, that's when you get explosive growth and explosive opportunity. Now, I just see with online marketing, and website is part of online marketing. I see things. I see AI as being a disruptor, and it clearly is, because the pinch point at the beginning of the late 90s, early 2000s, maybe even up to the mid 2010s. having just a functional, decent website gave you edge. Then we had the rise of social media, which you know about because you built a good plugin. So social media became the thing, and it's still there. But around TikTok, around YouTube, where I think the actions of Facebook, Meta, Twitter, now X, around reducing organic reach and having to pay money. I think that's one of the reasons why Meta is really looking at cutting out the small business agencies that are running campaigns for smaller businesses, because they can absorb that margin, because Facebook has become so expensive to small businesses to get any reach that they've backed off on it to some degree. Where do you think the pinch point is going to be on online marketing? Have you got any view about this, or is it so up in the air still that there is no clear answer to that?
I think it's just moving fast. I think what will happen is it'll be more important to own your own content. So have your own story on your own website, and then AI can help accelerate what you produce. So whether that's like different like microsites for your business, whether it's different directories, whether it's like programmatic SEO parts of your website to get more traffic. I think Google will still send traffic your way, even in the age of like the AI snippets, where you might do a search term, but now you see maybe 5 websites that you go and visit instead of just the top one. So I think it will help smaller businesses to have more importance on getting your website out there, getting the content out there, and just doing this marketing, doing this talking, and people like buying from people, like as opposed to just seeing a brand. Like I've seen a number of like tweets where people say, if you don't have an about page about you, then I ain't going to touch your product. Like I need to know who's behind it. I need to know if it's somebody that like I can connect with. And a lot of over the 10, 15 years I've been doing this, like probably the number one differentiator is like the support and the ability to talk to the person behind the product as well. Like with the users, they much prefer that than just having this cool product that they can't get in touch with anybody with. They would rather choose maybe the not so cool product where it's super fast support. They can talk to the people behind it. They feel like they're being like heard is sort of more important than that. And if you don't have your website with all of the background, if you don't start building up your like personal brand, then it's going to be harder to sort of build that trust and authority in whatever you decide to do.
Yeah, I think you're really spot on it. It's like wind against tide. We seem to have competing flows where I think people want. I totally agree with what you've just outlined. Yet then we've also got this, well, you can automate everything. Automate everything. You don't even have to be a real person like me. I'm not real. So it's, can you see where I'm coming from? We seem to have these two totally contradictory flows at the same time. Do you think I'm right about that?
Yeah, I think more you'll try and. I tried it for a little while. It's like I tried again in sabbatical. I used vibe coding to build like a Twitter engagement bot that essentially would supposed to tweet like me, and it would do a tweet every half an hour of like looking at the history of my tweets to say this is what my tone is like, and it just produced nonsense. So I'm just like, so even though I was trying to automate it, it's like people were DMing me saying like, was that recent tweet you? I'm like, no, it wasn't. And they're like, well, I follow you because I follow you, not for like the number of times you tweet. So I think it is like, it's always going to go back to like trust and authenticity and like the personality of the person that you choose to do business with over, sure, like the product is, if it's the best product in the world, then that's going to get a ton of users. So there is that trade-off, and that, like you said, the wind against the water. It's really it's tough. Like at which point what do you automate and what do you not automate will be a challenge as well. Like,
yeah, I think you're really spot on that. I'll just give you a little. It's just personal anecdotal. it's a bit around my usage of YouTube. I've noticed, and after I noticed my behaviour, I thought about it. If people are putting on like informational content and it's obvious they're using AI and they're using AI for the voice and you can't see them, or if you do see them, you can tell that it's an AI figure, I tend to block the channel, right? But on the other hand, there's some people that are making small films and they're using AI video in a very creative way. And I watch some of them and I really like it and I follow their channel. And it's up front, it's all being produced by using AI video, but they're producing almost using AI as a tool to make a story. So there's that. And I thought, do you think my reaction is just peculiar to me, or is my reaction to how AI has been used on YouTube probably the same reaction than a lot of people?
I think it depends on the type of AI content. So I quite like the Fireship YouTube channel because it feels like it's AI generated, but I don't think it is. And that's got like probably 4 million followers now on YouTube, subscribers on YouTube, and it covers all like the trending topics in coding and tech, and I could see that moving more and more AI wise. But when you see some of the AI stuff, which is, and it's a definite like AI robotic voice, then I'm like you. I'm just like, I can't watch this. Like even, and I think people are just trying to put the content out there to try and just get like quick money through like gaming trends. So yeah, I think I'm a similar thing. Like some of it,
you get a feeling that you've been conned. I think that it's not quite that, is it? But it's just got a taste of it, hasn't it?
Yeah, but then the ones that have done good, that they've spent the time on, like crafting AI into the story and using AI to help do the storytelling. Like even if it's got certain snippets of the person throughout the video, then I think that's fine as long as it's got that story and engagement and it's not too AI. Then I think that works quite well.
Right. It's been a fantastic discussion, Mike. I think you need to go off and sort your children or whatever. So, Mike, what's the best way for people to find out more about you?
So again, probably Twitter's the best way. I am on LinkedIn as well. So just search Mike Stott, and Twitter is @MikeStottWP. And again, my personal website is just mikestott.me. And then you can find me around Jetpack CRM. Again, pretty much all over the place.
It's been a fantastic discussion. Hopefully you'll decide to come back and have another discussion with us. We'll see you soon, folks. Bye.
All right. Thank you.